Dragon Rampant. It's been too long since we got some big forces out on the table. We're going to do the Broman Empire against the all-mounted nomadic goblins today. The goblins are coming to the table with a general mounted on a greater war beast. Each of these three figures has 2 wounds. We have a unit of lesser war beasts and 3 units of light riders. Notice that 2 of these units have spears and the one back here has bows. They all have the shoot and scoot ability. I'll point out most of these models come to us from Splintered Light. These guys here in the back are some of the few 15mm figures available from Pendragon. No real special abilities. The only one is that the greater war beasts do have cunning. Their defense goes up to 5. On the other side of the table, we've got the Broman Empire. The leader is here in this unit of heavy horse. You've got a unit of elite horsemen back here. I should say elite riders, but of course they are on horses. 2 units of heavy foot, and the cannon is classed as a heavy shooter. Now, the heavy shooters have 12 strength points, so I've got 6 staff members here, 6 crew, including 2 spearmen who are protecting. We'll give each of the crew 2 wound points or strength points, as the case may be. And when we remove 3 of these guys, that means it's going to be firing at half effectiveness. That is a 24 AP army, but only if you spend 2 extra points on these elite riders. That is an 8-point unit. They are level-headed, meaning no wild charge, and they are moving on a 5-up. So pretty expensive, probably the most expensive unit on the table. What kind of scenario are we doing today? Well, let's take a look at the terrain first. But before we do that, let's take a look at the scenario we'll be playing, Death Chase. We're going to roll a d6 for both sides. Whoever rolls higher is the attacker. The attacker sets up on the north and the south table edge. Their units are touching the table edge. The defender sets up on the eastern table edge. Each unit is in contact with the table edge, and then the defender has to move off the west table edge. As soon as it touches the edge, it's gone. And as soon as it touches the edge, they get 3 glory for every unit over half that escapes, and 1 for every half point or less. The attacker gets 2 for every unit destroyed or routed. Notice that both of our teams have 5 units. Doesn't matter which one it is, doesn't matter who escapes or not, just getting them off the table is all that matters. From up top, we have an impassable river, kind of cutting the battlefield in thirds, I guess you could say. The heavy brush, these block line of sight, and all movement. Nobody can get through those. Those are impassable. Likewise with the trees here. The templates here, this swamp, and this rough ground, and this rough ground, those you can pass through. They do reduce movement by half. And of course, there is a ford here. There is a bridge, and there is a ford over there. So we're going to roll 2d6. The black die is for the goblins, and we get a 5 and a 3, meaning the goblins are going to be the attacker, and the Bromans the defender. The Bromans put their big shooter down here on the near side of the table edge. One of the things I didn't mention is that the leader of the Bromans has the ability once per turn to give these guys an auto pass on their shooting. So we have our heavy riders, 2 units of spear guys, heavy foot, and then those elite riders up there, remember, they pass their movement on a 5 or better. Boy, this tree is going to be a real problem for me. Some shooters over here. Now, in this particular scenario, the Bromans deploy first, and then the goblins can deploy anywhere, but they have to deploy 9 inches away from the nearest unit. So seeing this thicket here, the goblins have a nice safe hole that they can shoot through, at least on the first round or 2, and they're fast enough. They should be able to wheel back around through this gap. We've got a unit of light horse back here. Those guys will kind of serve as the free safety. They can zoom up. This river is going to be a problem. There's a long gap. If you're on the wrong side of that river, you are not going to have much luck. The other goblin units are going to be down here. This is the nearest to the shooter. So this one might take a pounding, but that just means he's eating damage that the leader can ignore. The goblin leader, instead of a free ability, he can reroll 3 missed melee attacks every turn. So he's a pretty tough cookie. And then again, just kind of running back here, since they are the fastest and they ignore terrain, the light war beasts, the lesser war beasts, are going to be able to just plow right through here. Now, the Ranger ability does allow you to move through terrain. However, that doesn't count for the stream. This is a raging river that nobody can pass through except at the ford. I am, as ever, playing at half scale. Remember that an 18-inch range translates to a 9-inch range. The heavy shooter is too far away. It was a 9-inch deployment, so their nearest target right down here, those goblins, not going to happen. So instead, we're just going to move everybody up basically as far as they can. We got to get across this table. The riders, of course, are a lot faster, and I got to do this in the smart order. I'm going to try to move the elite riders and then the heavy riders in that order. These 4 units activate on 5s. So elite riders get an 11, they'll move up. The heavy riders are going to get a 6, they'll move up, and then we'll go 1, 2. So our first spear guys get a 9, and the second guys get a 9, and now for a 6 or better for the heavy shooter. After movement, the line looks a little something like this. The goblins get to take an activation. The Goblin King is going to try to bring these light riders somewhere over here. Now, the light riders are the fastest units on the table. They can move a total of 6 inches at our half scale. So we're going to try those guys first, and they activate on a 5. And with the result of a 4, nothing is going to happen for the goblins. Great news for the Bromans. The river is going to be a problem for them, though. We're going to try to bring those riders up. We need a 5 or better, and with a 6, they'll get it. So those riders are going to move 5 inches, and then we're going to try to bring the spearmen behind them, and with a 6, they'll move up. But now remember, the spearmen only move 3 inches at a time, so we try to bring the... Do we use our ability? Are we within 6 inches? Can we tell this heavy shooter to fire? It's within 6 inches. It's within 6 inches, so I think we do. We're going to use our ability to fire at the goblin. You can't see it right now, but I'll show you here in a second. In the meantime, I want to roll to see if I can move these guys. So that means we get a 7. So these guys will be able to charge up, and then these guys are going to follow suit and with a 7. So everybody moves except for the heavy shooters, who are going to blast away at the goblins. The heavy shooter is going to roll 12 dice because he is at full strength, hitting on 4s. If they were further than 6 inches away from these riders, they would be hitting on 5s. The light riders that they're shooting at only have an armor of 3, which means for every 3 4s or better, and we just pull these off into groups of 3. So there's 1 hit, there's 2 hits, I know that was a 5, and then this extra is wasted. So we get a total of 2 casualties against these riders, and because they're so far away, we just pull them right off. And that's going to be the end of the Broman turn. These guys have an ability called Skirmish. I don't think we want to use that, though. I think we want to charge into the cannon. Let's give that a shot. Let's see what happens. With a result of a 10, they are going to be able to charge into combat. Now, normally light riders wouldn't do this, but because they're within that 6 inches, they're close enough, they're going to hammer home. We'll bring them up just like that. They're still at full strength, so they're going to get their full complement. This is an attack move. This is an attack order. So light riders, not the best. They need a 5 or better to hit, and the heavy missiles only have an armor of 2. So we do the same thing. We're going to roll 12 dice because they're at full strength, and that is a really good roll. Now, they're not nearly as good at fighting as some of these other units, but man, with an attack ability of 5 or better, they're going to get, and for every 2 hits, they're going to do 1 wound to their enemy. So there's 1, 2, 3, and, well, no, it's 5s or better, isn't it? So it's actually, they do 2 hits altogether, and with an armor of 2, that means they only take off 1 enemy. Oh, I'm sorry, with an armor of 2, they take off 2. So what I'm going to do is with 2 casualties, and you know what I forgot? I forgot to roll for morale. When you take a wound, I think with a 2, maybe they would have been okay. Let me check for the morale check on these guys. They have a courage of, and this is going back to the Broman activation. They have a courage of 5 or better. Now, they lost 2 figures, so this is at -2. They get a 7, which means they succeeded. Okay, great. That means that, okay, now These guys get to counterattack, but they're not going to be nearly as effective. The light riders still have an armor of 3, but the heavy missiles, when they fight on defense, they're only hitting on 5s. So they're still at full strength. So we roll, and they're going to get, for every triples that are 5 or better. So they're only going to do 1 wound. All right, so that was 2 wounds for these guys and 1 wound for these guys. Having lost a total of 3 figures, we'll get him out of here. The light riders, with their courage of 5, they need to roll an 8 to succeed. They roll a 7, or the other way to look at this is 7 minus 3 is 4. So they failed their courage check as a 5, which means they are going to have to retreat. Meanwhile, these guys have to roll. They are at -2, so they're going to wind up with a total score of 2. It's a positive score, but they failed their check, so they are also going to, I think it's retreat. That is half your move rate. So these guys were here. They're going to wind up falling back 3 inches. The shooters are going to fall back 1.5 inches to right there. And are they battered? Let's see. It says retreating unit moves half its distance at the end of your move. Blah, 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 blah. And then if you retreat off the table. So if they retreat again, they're going to be off the table. But that doesn't apply here. If you failed, and you become battered. So I have a couple of gems that I dropped down. These red gems indicate that all these guys can do is try to recover their nerve on their next turn. Now that was the first activation for the goblins. So we still have to do the rest of the goblin units. And I'm going to start back here with these guys coming to fill the gap, and then I'm going to roll for those guys. We're just looking for 5s. So the free safety does move up, and these guys over here, the guys with the bows, they're going to move up as well. They move 6 inches apiece, and then we'll look at the southern half of the board. I've got 2 units of war beasts. I'm going to try to move the general first. On a 7, he will move up, and then these guys on a 4 are going to sit tight. To start their turn, these heavy shooters of the big cannon, I'm so glad to get him back on the table. He is just within 6 inches. I'm going to give it to him. He's going to try to recover. So he makes another courage check. And when you are trying to recover, it's the same thing. He's at 8, -2 is 6. With his normal courage of 4, he's successful. They remove the red gem of shame. No longer battered. However, and that's big because there's a lot of penalties when you're battered. However, that's all they can do for the turn. Then the leader's going to go, and we're doing a full general showdown. He's going to try to make an attack action, which will let him move into contact. With a 10, he's successful. So we just bring this whole unit up. Kapow. And that's also going to help because whatever happens, it's a successful activation. So he's kind of cleared out of the way, and these spear guys, maybe they can run up and get over the bridge. Or at least it clears some additional space for them. But we do need to do that battle first. So let's grab all them dice, and we'll figure out who's rolling what and who's doing what. The heavy riders are going to be attacking on 5s, and the greater war beast has an armor of 4. Oh, that's going to be a real problem for them. I don't know about this, guys. This might have been a mistake. So activates on a 5. Oh, I'm sorry. He's hitting on 4s, rather. So we're looking for 4s. If we get a bunch of them. So that's actually, man, hot dice today. So if we pull out the misses, we'll do it Warhammer style. We get a total of 2 hits. And 2 hits means we remove this guy. So I'm going to lay him down back so we remember how many casualties we did. But the big boys get to attack back. So the greater war beasts, when they fight on defense now, they're only hitting on 6s, and the heavy riders have an armor of 3. So for every 3 6s we pull out of this, so there's 1, 2, 3, we're going to do 1 casualty. So we'll pull one of these guys off too, okay? So this was 2 hits versus 1 hit, and that's important because we have to check our morale. These guys have a courage of greater war beast, they have a courage of 3 up. So we roll, and of course, I think because he's a general, he has an additional +1. So he succeeds. The general over here, you know what I forgot though? This general gets to re-roll 3 of his dice. If these come up triple 6s, yeah, that's a miss. He could do 1 more damage, but he didn't. Oh, those are all melee, not just attack. Okay, because remember, he's fighting on the defensive now. Anyway, we got to check for the morale of this leader, and with a result of a 7, -1 for the wound, +1 for the leader, that's going to be a good to go. They have a courage of 4. Then, since we're already here, I can go ahead and remove the fallen. Choosers of the slain, I'm going to move these guys up. They are going to roll a 5, and their movement is on a 5. So just to show you how far they can move, these elite riders only move 5 inches. And it looks like I got to glue some of these lances back on. All right, so they move up. And then we just have to find out if our spear guys can move up as well. So we'll check for these guys first. And with a 5, they will. We're looking for 5s. The other guys get a 5, so both of those spear guys will move up. We'll move these guys up to... Oh, maybe we should move them over to here. Just to defend against these guys. I got to think about that. Oh, one other thing. Because they didn't defeat their enemies, these guys have to fall back. You got to leave a ½ inch gap because you never wind up locked in combat in this game. So these guys can move a total of 3 inches, and I think that's all they're going to be able to move for right now. So we'll put them right there. And then, as I said, these guys, just to show you, at 3 inches, they can just make it over the ford right there. And we have some tactical decisions to make. These guys are some pretty heavy hitters. Do we just race them off the table to score the 3 victory points? You know, we're not down to half strength on any of these units so far. So the Bromans not doing too shabby. But it is the Goblins' turn, and these Light Riders are going to try to recover. With an 11, they do, so we remove the battered. No more battered unit syndrome down here, but that's their activation for the turn. Then our leader says, I want to ride into the attack. With a boxcars, he charges in, and this time, now remember, he hit on 6s when he was fighting on the defensive. This time, he's going to be hitting on 5s, and the heavy riders will also be hitting on 5s. All right. And then the armor is the same. So we're looking for 5s, and we'll pull out 1, 2, 3 misses because we get to re-roll those. And we'll roll them again, and we get 3 more misses. Didn't do us any good. So we got 1, 2, 3 hits against a heavy riders with an armor value of 3. We're going to pull off another one. And the last guy to fall is the leader every time. The heavy riders now get to counter, and they're going to roll 5 dice, hitting on 5s, but we need 4 of them to do any casualties. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just here's a couple of other misses. So we do 1 casualty. I'm going to need to dig into my bag of tricks and drop a casualty down. So they are now at half strength, meaning that this unit will only be rolling 6 dice when they attack and defend instead of 12. Not only that, they have to check their morale at a -3. So 4 minus 3 is a failure, and they're going to retreat their movement, that's 5 inches, back to here, and now the leader is going to be battered. And, you know, it occurs to me, these guys had a +1 on their morale check. They succeeded with flying colors, not a problem. And we can pull off this casualty. And I think that's it for these units. Now, these guys have already activated. So who's going to activate next? It's not going well for the Goblins. Let's slide them on over. They're hoping to get these lesser war beasts into the action, but they're just not interested, are they? So let's try to bring them up to here. And they finally activate. Now they are, I think I said somebody else was the fastest on the island, but it's actually these lesser war beasts. They have a total movement of 12 inches. Oh, the Light Riders all move 12 inches, or 6 in our case. And they ignore terrain, so they can just make a beeline straight for, let's head straight for the ford there. And then we're going to try to bring these Light Riders into position. With an 8, they will move up into here. And then these guys also are going to try to swing around here. So we'll do that because we rolled a 6, which is successful. That's all the activations for the Goblins. There's really only one thing to do. This leader is going to charge this leader. With a result of a 6, we do pull off the attack. We were 5 inches away, right? Yeah, because they fell back 5 inches. So simple math dictates that we are going to be able to bring up these 4 guys and fight a round of combat over here. Now, he is a little too far away. Because he moved up so far, he can't give these guys the auto fire order, which means we're just going to be locked into this combat. Again, at full strength, we're going to be rolling all 12 dice, and we are looking for 4s because we're on the attack. Told you that was going to be a problem, and that was a little disappointing. We got 5, 6, that's it. So no hits for the leader. On the other hand, he should be safe. Oh no, because this goblin on the heavy war beast, now he's only hitting on 6s because he's battered. He's at half strength, so he only rolls 6 dice, and he needs to score 6s to hits. Okay, so there's 0, but he gets 3 rerolls. He only got 1, so that was a whole big fat load of nothing. So the leader for the humans will fall back to there, and the turn continues with... I think we need to charge into combat over here. I think that's our best bet. If we can hammer these guys, it's going to clear out a little bit of space for us. And we are definitely within charge range. So trying to attack, result of a 4, I think that's going to end the turn for the Bromans. The elite riders attack on a 5 or better. Yeah, that's not going to do it. Turn ends. This leader needs to get rid of his battered marker. He rolls a 4 minus 3. That's a 1. That means he retreats again. Because he is a ranger, he can fall back to the safety behind this terrain over here, and he does hang on to his unit still. Oh, yeah, so first we do that. These lesser war beasts have to charge here. They have an ability called Wild Charge. So they have to check, and with the result of a 10, they're going to race in. Flank doesn't matter in this game. It's all just kind of loosey-goosey. So we've got these 6 guys, strength of 6. And this is the first time we've seen the lesser war beasts. They attack on 5s, right? So that's success. And they had to charge. Then they're hitting on 5s against a unit that has an armor of 3. So we roll all 12 because they have 6 strength points. They're at full strength. So we roll looking for 5s, and we get a total of, well, I don't know what that is. Let's call that a 6 and a 5. So there's going to be 1 wound right there. And then we get another 6 and 5 that doesn't do us any good. So the Roman leadership has fallen to half strength. Because they're at half strength, they are only going to be rolling 6 dice. And on the counterattack, or is it simultaneous? I think it's no, because they attacked and now they defend. That's one of the reasons you want to be the attacker. They are going to be hitting on 5s as always. No, is it 5s on defense? Yeah, heavy riders, 5s on defense. They only score 1 hit, and lesser war beasts have an armor of 3, so they're not going to do any damage. They're going to be forced to make a morale check, and with a 4 minus 3, they're going to fall back 5 inches to here, and they will be battered. And now the leader no longer has a +1 for rallying any of his troops. Very unfortunate. That was these guys' turn. So now we're going to do something. So these guys have a little thing called skirmish action. And what they can do is on a 7 or better, yeah, a 9 is successful. They're at half strength, so they're going to make an attack. So they roll their 6 dice. They're only going to get 2 hits, which doesn't do anything. But then they can move half their normal speed, so they can pull back. Is it half their speed or is it full speed? It's called skirmish. It's basically that fun little thing in chainmail parlance. It would be half move and shoot, I think they call it, where you move, shoot, move. Well, in this one, you have to choose. You can either shoot and move or move and then shoot. They, of course, are going to shoot and then fall back. So the light riders skirmish on a 7-up. They can make a half a move. So normally they move 6 inches. So they're only going to be able to move back 3 inches. So like this guy can come back to here. So they fall back just a little bit. So not terribly effective, but again, they're only at half strength, so what do you expect? You know, in retrospect, with these guys as battered as they are, see the little battered marker? Probably would have been better to charge into melee. Oh well, live and learn. Over here, we're going to try to do the same. Maybe this is an instance where you definitely want to do that. We're going to roll, we get a 10, and they're at full strength now, so they can make their shooting attack. And we roll all 12 dice. The light riders are hitting on 5s, and so we'll count those up. Now they need 4 hits. So there's 1, 2, and then they can move out of the way. So they move back like so, and that means that they're more than 5 inches away. We're going to pre-measure just to make sure that we did that right. Yep. So they're more than 5 inches away, so these riders can't charge in to attack them. Meanwhile, what do we want to do with these guys? We have one more unit of riders. Let's move them up into a blocking position. With a result of a 10, they'll move up, but we're going to stop them basically right here. We don't want to get into a position where we can be charged. But we know where those elite riders are coming. Those elite riders will run down these goblin wolf riders like wheat before the scythe. But if we stay 6 inches away, they're not going to be able to catch us. They'll have to move up 5, and then we can take that shot and fall back. And if maybe with these two guys combining forces, if we can just knock out 3 of those guys, it's only a 1 victory point on that whole side. I think that makes sense. That's the strategic thing to do. So the first thing we have to do on the Broman side is try to recover from being battered. We get a 10, minus 3 is a 7. So this is now picked up. And then we try to move. Well, we got to move the cannon first on a 6. So he can move up 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. Now we can't fire with him, but next turn we definitely will. So maybe we can drive away some of these goblins. See, there he is right there. Then let's bring our heavy foot up here. Let's block and try to save our boy. They move on a 5, and so 3 inches will bring them right up to here, and they can draw some aggro. And then these guys will try to. They are more than 5 inches away, so all they can do is move. With the result of a 5, they'll be able to do just that. So they're going to come up just a half an inch short. In the regular game, you have a buffer of 1 inch around every other unit. In our game, it's a half an inch. So I'm not even going to measure. The last unit that needs to move is going to get a 6, and that means these spearmen. I think our cavalry is doing its job. It's plowing the way. It's creating the space for these infantry to get to where they need to go. Get under I'm trying to wedge this tree under the terrain piece. It's not really working. The leader tries to recover. He gets a 5, minus 3 is a 2. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot. When you fail, you lose a strength point. So he's down to just 2 guys. And with that one, he's going to lose another strength point, and he's going to fall back another 5 inches. Broop. If he fails one more of those, he's going to be off the table. See, there's the edge of the table right there. So he's fallen back. And then we want to attack with these guys. We're going to bring them. Oh boy. See, that was smart, defending your liege and lord. So we'll try to charge these heavy foot. On a 5, lesser war beasts will attack. So they move up into position. Bark, 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 bark. These dire wolves are charging well, it's not a shield wall. That's a special ability that doesn't apply here. They are going to get the first attack. The heavy foot have an armor of 3. And the lesser war beasts are hitting on 5s. So we roll them all, and again, we only have 1, 2 hits. You'll have to do better than that. But the heavy foot, they are actually defensive fighters. Oh, I forgot about that. They actually fight on 4s. So let's see how many 4s we get. And with lesser war beasts, they only have an armor of 3. So every triple we get, we pull out the misses. We're going to do 2 wounds to the lesser war beasts. Sorry, doggies. And then this one is just wasted. They don't carry over. So 2 gone. that's the end of the fight. The only people that lost a wound are the war beasts. They make a morale check, and with a result of a 0, that's it. Oh, don't send dogs to do a wolf rider's job. That's not going to go good. Well, these light riders are furious, so they're going to do another skirmish action, but they're going to skirmish against this guy. If they can get a 7, which they did, then they can take another 6 zappy shots. And if they can score enough hits, let's see, that's not going to do it. They need 5s. They need 3 5s, and they didn't get it. They only got 1 6. But they can fall back and perhaps fight another day. What we're going to do is fall them back half a move to here. We're going to block the route. Hopefully, we can buy enough time for these guys up here. We have 2 units. This one. Wait. Yeah, this unit wants to skirmish, and they will. And then, now that unit up there, are they too far away to skirmish? They may have to ride into battle. Now they're 6 inches away. They can take the shot if they want, but let's find out what happens with this battle first. So we're going to take 12 shots, looking for big whammies, big money, no whammies. They're going to be hitting on light riders hit when they shoot on 5s. So we just need 4 of them. Can we get 4 of them to do 1 point of damage? Starting to think that we did this strategically very wrong. We probably should have focused more on the foot troops. So that may be how we decide to do this. Maybe we'll go ahead and swing these guys around and give these elite riders an open door. Hey, if you want to take the 3 points, go ahead, because we can knock those guys out and swing the deficit back to us. Like if they're only at half strength, you only get 1 point. If I can completely wipe them out, you get nothing. Or actually, I get 2 points. Maybe that's the best way to do this. A little late in the game for it, but hey, I'm doing a lot over here. Okay, guys? Cut me some slack. It's the Bromans' turn. And the Bromans say, yeah, give me the 3 victory points if you can. I'm going to bring these guys 5 inches to here, and it looks like they're actually 2 turns away. But that being the case, we'll actually stop them like right there and say, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and shoot at me. I'm going to make things as easy as possible for the guys behind me, meaning we're going to try to move these guys up. Moving on a 5, they move just 3 inches to here. Boy, this is a long one, isn't it, guys? Then we're going to try to... These guys are not good on the attack. And our shooters are only going to be hitting on 5s. But we'll go ahead and we'll show you what's going on down here. So down here in this corner of the universe, these shooters have a range of 9 inches. So they just make it. And they have an auto success because the leader can give them that order. They're still at full strength. So blah, 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 blam. And they're hitting on 5s. And that's the kind of roll that we needed. That's going to be 1, 2 casualties against these Wolf Riders. The Wolf Riders are at -5 on this check. And with a 4 -5, we clear the path for the next couple of units. These spearmen are going to march forward on a 7. They can move 3 inches. And that's a little on the slow side, but to there. And then the leader gets to make his move check. And with a 6, he will be successful. And he can move 5 inches to here. So, looking good. Looks like we're winning the battle. We're winning the melees. This goblin leader still has to try to recover. He is at -5 now. He gets a 6 -5. He retreats one more time off the board, and he's done. Now, when your leader dies, everybody on the table has to make a courage check. I think it's at -1. So this unit, that unit, I get a 9, that's successful. A 10, that's successful. Well, those are the only 2 units left, huh? All right, well, we'll try to skirmish here, looking for a 7. They fail, which means these guys get to move. And on a 10, they'll move 5 inches. which takes them up to here. And man, I think this game is pretty much over at this point, barring some sort of a late, like a fourth quarter miracle. They're going to get 6 points off right there. And what we can do is put these guys in shield wall. We're going to try to move them to block the pass here, right? So 5 inches, we're going to put them right here. And we're going to dare these 2 remaining units. The leader now is going to try to move. He's going to move 5 inches up. So we're going to score 2 points if we can just get him off the board. Then we're going to try to move the heavy gun. And with a 6, he's the hardest to move. So he's only going to be able to move 3 inches to here. But then this foot unit is going to move 3 inches as well. And he's got enough space to kind of squeeze in. We're just going to move him up something like this, okay? And essentially, this is where we do what the Warhammer 40K people call talking it out. We could play one more turn and see if this guy can create a skirmish action. I guess there's really only one thing to do. We got to charge into combat. And with a 6, we will. Now, they're not in shield wall, so that will be a bit of a benefit. As much as I love that skirmish action, I've just never seen it do any good. Light riders just aren't very effective in this game. And the real problem now is we're using our light riders to go after guys who fight best on defensive. Unless we can get some much better rolling, the light riders, when they're on the attack, first of all, they need a 7 to do that. And I don't know if they got that. I don't remember. I was thinking it's a 6. Assume for the moment that they do. They're hitting on 5s. And against the heavy foot, they need to score 3 successes. So I think that's only going to do 1 casualty. And now they're going to have to eat attacks from guys who are hitting on 4s. Heavy foot fighting defensively, man. They're rough. So we're going to get 1 wound, 2 wounds. So 2 to 1. So we take 2 of these guys off. And we have to make a couple of checks. At -1 for the humans, they get a 7. So 8 minus 1 is 7. At -2, they get an 8. So they're okay, but they fall back a little bit. And then this unit is going to try to move. And with a 5, they'll be successful. But they only move 6 inches. They don't have the wheels to get into contact. Which means it's the human turn. And we're going to have to move some dice out of the way because the humans are now making a break for it. We'll start with the guys who are already at the table edge. And with a result of a 5, they're going to escape. That is a total of 3 victory points already. The leader is going to try to advance, and with a 3, the turn is over. This may be the kind of miracle we were looking for. It provides the goblins with the opportunity to make another attack, and we'll start with these guys. They'll ride home, and they're going to, again, roll 12 dice, looking for 5s. So they score 3 successes, so they do 1 wound. This unit then counterattacks. They're still at full strength, and they're going to be hitting on 4s. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then, so 5 hits. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 5 hits is only going to do 1 wound. So the humans are at -2 on their morale check. They score a total of 9. The goblins roll a 4. They're at -1. That is a 3. The light riders only have a courage of 5. They're going to fall back 6 inches to here, and they're going to be battered. And that is not good for them because it means they're not even going to be able to attack next turn. We're going to have an opportunity to get a lot of guys out of the way. But we do still have one other unit at full strength that is going to ride in. And I'm not even going to move them just yet. Sorry for the bump. So we roll. And that's the kind of roll they really need. Light riders on attack are hitting on 5s. And for every 3 of them, they'll knock out a guy. So there's 1. Oh, we're playing Space Gits now. And then that was it. So they do another point of damage. And then they have to take a counterattack, which is hitting on 4s. And that counterattack is going to do 1, 2 more casualties. So now the goblins have to make a morale check at -4. They get a 5, so they pass, which means they just back off a little bit. These guys are at -3. They get a 7 total, which is success. And it's the Bromans' turn. So the order is obvious. We'll move these guys first. They're going to move 5 inches. We'll use the shorter one. It's a little easier. So they're going to make it 5 inches up there. Now remember, they're only worth 1 victory point. But if they get off, then the worst result the Bromans can have is a tie. These guys will move up 3 inches to here, just behind. Hey, you could get back on your Sabbath base there, guy. And then bringing up the very, very rear is the... I don't think they move. I think that's a failure. The heavy missiles only move up on a 6 or better. But these guys, what do we want to do with them? Oh, that's the end of the activation. So we can get a little bit clever here. We can make a skirmish action on a 7 or better. Well, first thing we have to do is check these guys' morale. They're going to recover it with a result of an 8. Now, these guys are going to make a skirmish action. They're going to try to shoot here. With an 8, they're successful. At half strength, they're only rolling 6 dice. And they're going to get 5, 5, 6. So they will do 1 wound here, and that triggers a morale check at -4. 7 minus 4 is 3. Heavy riders have a courage of 4. But it's the leader at +1, so at 4 up, he does succeed. That was the hope. If you can knock this guy out, get him to run away, then you're going to win the battle. That's it for the goblins. We're going to try to move the leader up again with a result of a 7. He can move 5 more inches, and on the next turn, he'll be off the board. These guys are going to try to move. They're going to move up 3 inches like so, and then we'll leave these guys. We're going to bring the heavy shooters up, and they're just going to move 3 inches. Bit of a foot race here. These guys are going to try to form wall of spears. With an 8, they succeed. Now what that means is their armor goes from a 3 to a 4. And that might just seal the deal here, because when these riders charge home with a 3, they're going to fail. Oh man, that really did it. End of the activation. The leader gets off, so it's 4 victory points. And then we've got these guys try to move, and they don't. So now it's the goblins' turn, and we're going to try to charge home. With a 6, we do. We're only rolling 6 dice. We need to do a casualty, or we're in big trouble. Yeah, we didn't do any casualties. We need 5s on those. Now the spear guys are going to go, and they're hitting on 4s. So actually, you know what? I don't know that they can do... They have to roll 4 5s to do a single casualty here. I think this game is over. They're going to do 1 more wound here, rolling at -5 to see what happens. 10 minus 5 is a 5. He's going to succeed. Oh, but he retreats, and he's battered. Then these guys can try to charge home. Now they're at full strength. With a 6, they'll succeed. So they come up into contact like this. And the humans... I'm getting a little sloppy here. Can you tell it's getting a little late for me? I'm sorry, it's not the humans. The goblins, again, are hitting on 5s. They need 4 of them. They're going to do 1 point of damage, forcing a very important morale check. The humans will counterattack looking for 4s, and they're going to get 1, 2 wounds against these guys who are now half strength. So that's going to be checking morale for the humans. Oh, you know what? That's a 0. That means the humans go bye-bye. Okay. This game might have just got interesting. On the other hand, the goblins are going to score 7. -3 for the casualties is a 4. And those light riders, now that's a positive number, but they're going to fall back 6 inches, and they're going to be battered. So we have a free turn. With a 6, we're going to move these guys up 3 inches. They are 3 inches away from the table edge. The gun is stuck in the mud, apparently. The victory points stand at 4 to the Bromans to 2 to the Goblins. They get 2 points for the unit that they destroyed. If these guys roll high enough to get off the table, which they do, that gives them 7 victory points. And with only 2 more victory points on the table, even if these goblins are able to recover their battered station, which it might have been their turn, 6 minus 5 is 2, so he's okay. And then 8 minus 5, he's okay. As a 3 up. Actually, I think that's bad for them. The Light Riders have a courage of 5. Nope, so that's okay. There's no way for the goblins to win at this point. They've only scored 2 victory points. There's only 2 more victory points left on the table. 7 victory points have gotten off the table for the Bromans. So even though they were a lot slower because of their strength of arms and because of their clever strategy, they were able to succeed where the goblins weren't. I just don't think this goblin army works in Dragon Rampant. They just don't have the heavy hitting power that it takes. The Light Riders, with their little skirmish ability, just can't put enough bodies on the floor to make it do any good, particularly in a scenario like this where you're under such tight geographical constraints. They might do really well on something like Crystal Gale, where you're trying to grab victory points and run off the board. But anytime you're in any kind of a stand-up fight, particularly where you have to deliver the damage, it's just not going to work. I wonder how it would work if the goblins were trying to cross the board. They're really fast. Maybe we should play this scenario a second time. Same terrain, same forces, but this time see if the goblins can get across the table. Maybe that army list is built for that situation. Let's give it a try. We'll take a look at it next week. Until then, I'm praying for you.